A Fox News alert, President Trump gathering his National Security Council at the White House today as he doubles down on his campaign promise, making the world a safer place after the epic takedown of Iran's major nuclear sites. White House Press Secretary.
I did not even realize this. They're right. He promised that he's going to make the world a safer place. And if you disagree that this operation made the world safer, just drop the comment down. But for me personally, again, do you really want someone like Iran, whatever you want to call it, have a nuclear weapon? Definitely not. That's the connection with terrorist organizations and Iran. There's so many of them that you really don't want a country like this to have a capability like this, right? And yeah, if you can't deal with them diplomatically, I feel like that was the only option they had. Now the question is US at war right now? Is United States at war with Iran? So I saw a few interviews. I don't know if they're going to talk about it over here, but J.D. Vance made a good interview. He said, no, it was just one-time thing. We just needed Iran to have no nuclear weapons or capability to create nuclear weapons. That's another thing. Like, there's a lot of like CNN news and stuff like that when they're like, oh, did Iran had the nuclear weapons, and making claims like this. Look, if you have all of the parts for the nuclear weapon and you just don't know how to assemble it yet, are you dangerous? I think you are. They might find out tomorrow how to assemble it, how to create nuclear weapon. And they already had parts or enriched uranium for what, 12 nukes? Are you crazy? You really want to take that risk? And especially now with how public it got. Do you really think there's no other country that would be willing to sell them plans for nuclear weapon? Do you really think their own researchers and scientists were the only ones who would be able to create it for them? I don't know. I think there's a lot of crazy people in this world, and some of them would love Iran to bomb US or Israel, right? Anyway, let's get to the video. Sorry for my rant again.
Karoline LEAVITT joins us now. Karoline, I know the president seems very pleased by the results so far. What do we know about the effectiveness of the attack that's been relayed to you?
Mm-hmm. The president is pleased, the country is pleased, and frankly, Brian, the whole world should be pleased with the courageous action that President Trump and our United States military took on Saturday night. I want to thank, and the president wants to thank, the brave pilots who flew nearly 40 hours and more.
Man, so gorgeous. Wait, I'm talking about this, okay? If my wife is watching, I'm talking about this. You know I have a weak spot for this. It's crazy to think that it's 30-year-old. Like, I really wonder what they're gonna come up with next. Damn, I think I just got in trouble over here.
More than 7,000 miles from the middle of America to the Middle East to conduct this highly successful and complex precision strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities.
So if you don't know, they flew from Missouri to Iran, bombed the shit out of those nuclear facilities, and then flew back without landing anywhere. They actually refueled in the air. There's a lot of videos from it. I don't know if it's from this operation, but just in general, how they refuel. Such a gorgeous operation. Like, really, when President Trump is gonna talk about it, oh, we made this beautiful operation and all of this time I really agree with him. It's such an accomplishment. It's so crazy to think that they literally flew across the world, bombed someone, and flew back without landing anywhere, without losing a single troop, without a single missile being shot against them. It's great if you're on the side of the US. if you're against the US, it's not so great, and I think you should fall down and try to deal diplomatically with everything.
This is an operation that presidents of the past have dreamed about, but no president had the guts to actually do it. But President Trump did, to take away this imminent threat, not just to the state of Israel, but to the United States and the rest of the world. So the country is a safer place today because of the president's bold action, and he has prevented a nuclear conflict. He has prevented a rogue radical regime from obtaining a nuclear bomb and threatening our people.
So I know the president's very decisive, but he also likes listening to all angles. And he's used to Democrats fighting against him. How much harder was the decision when you have people like Steve Bannon coming over for lunch saying don't do it, Marjorie Taylor Greene saying don't do it, and other voices like that? How did the president digest all that, knowing these people weren't necessarily against him, they're against pending action he more than likely was going to take?
Okay, so I originally wasn't a really fan of anyone deciding if some other sovereign country can have the nuclear program or not. But at the same time, I was very loud about Iran or Iran having a nuclear program, right? Like capability of creating nuclear weapon in the hand of someone who has such a close tie with terrorists. Not a good idea. And now let's talk about it. In the conflict between Israel and Iran, is it good that the US got included in this specific goal or no? I think it's very good. And I think it's very good for Iran as well. Because we saw what Israel is capable of. We saw how precise they can be, but at the same time how they can bomb whatever they want, right? So I feel like if US just flew there, destroyed these 3 facilities, and that's it, I think it actually saved a lot of lives. I feel like if Israel did this, there would be so many other casualties, because I don't know, I don't want to be kind of skeptical about Israel. Like everything's going on around them, and we saw how they handled the situation in Palestine, where they bombed the hospitals and schools just to get few terrorists and didn't care about all of the innocent people dying. So I kind of feel like it's very good for everyone that US did this operation, and especially for Iran.
One of the great things that makes President Trump a great leader is his ability to listen to people with different perspectives, but then ultimately make a decision based on his own instinct and the intelligence that he saw. And he saw, based on U.S. intelligence, that Iran is just weeks away from obtaining a nuclear weapon. And President Trump has been saying his entire life, not just as a presidential candidate or as president of the United States twice, but also as a private citizen, that Iran cannot obtain a nuclear weapon. And that's something that leaders around this world and on both sides of the political aisle agree with. Again, presidents dating back to Democrat Bill Clinton have said that Iran cannot obtain a nuclear weapon, but none of them had the courage to actually do something about it, and President Trump did. And nobody knows what it means to accomplish peace through strength better than President Trump. He is the one who came up with that motto and that foreign policy doctrine, and he successfully implemented it in his first term. And this is one of many steps he is taking to successfully implement peace in his second term. The president wants to see a peaceful and prosperous Middle East. He talked about that extensively when we took that historic trip to Saudi Arabia, and he talked about how the Iranian terrorist regime was bringing down the rest of the region. And
look at that. Just this one hall, and the whole facility is done. They sent, what was it? Bunkbuster bombs or missiles? I think they had 14 of them literally created to just destroy the bunkers. And these facilities were like 300 feet deep. So here it looks like it didn't do much, right? But that bomb literally got in deep and exploded. Like it literally destroyed everything.
Our Gulf partners and allies agree with that sentiment. So the president wants peace. Sometimes you have to use strength to achieve it, and he's not afraid to use strength. And as Saturday night proved, the United States has the best and most lethal fighting force in the history of the world, and we can use it if we must.
So the president tweeted out the next day, and I agree with you, by the way, and I think most everyone watching does, says it's not politically correct to use the term regime change, but if the current Iranian regime is unable to make Iran great again, why wouldn't there be a regime change?
Make Iran great again? Oh, man. I mean, if they can't become a peaceful country, I think they will eventually need a regime change. And you saw the pictures how Iran looked like before Islamic Revolution, right? When they were actually, I think, Christian country. I don't know. I'm not saying that we have to run it back, but I'm saying that the population of Iran should have a option to decide if they want to continue being Islamic country or Christian. And again, if they want to be Islamic and they want to be peaceful, no issue there. But right now, the corruption, ties to terrorism, again, that doesn't matter on the religion, right? But these ties, it needs to stop. And if it doesn't, I think someone needs to get there and do the regime change. Regime change, not religion change. But again, they should have an option to choose whatever they want to do. Not just regarding regime, politicians, but also their religion. Because the Islamic Revolution back in, what was it, 1970s? I don't think it was that clean either.
Does he think we should do that? Is he asking the Iranian people to do that? What's he saying there?
The president believes the Iranian people can control their own destiny. And what he said last night makes complete sense. If the Iranian regime refuses to come to a peaceful diplomatic solution, which the president is still interested in engaging in, by the way, why shouldn't the Iranian people take away the power of this incredibly violent regime that has been suppressing them for decades? And so our posture has not changed. Our military posture has not changed. These were decisive precision strikes that were successful on Saturday evening. But the president is just simply raising a good question that many people around the world are asking.
So let's go to the border, if we can, and how that relates to the reprisals that Iran promises. One of the things they said was, you know, Donald Trump, gambler Donald Trump can start a war, we'll finish it. Well, could it be through a sleeper cell here? Well, they certainly have the numbers. It turns out over the last 4 years, there's been over 1,500 Iranians coming through our southern border, 729 qualified for release. Your reactions to the American people?
I wonder who was president back then. I wonder who made that happen, right? So here we go. There was a lot of known terrorists that got released, even though they were in the country, in the US, illegally. So not only that they didn't go to prison, they didn't get deported. It's so crazy to me. So you guys have a terrorist there, you know about it. He entered the country illegally. Not only that you're not gonna deport him to protect your citizens, you're not even gonna keep him in prison even though you know that he committed some crimes. Really? After 9/11, you're gonna just let it slide? I don't know. Call me crazy, but that doesn't sit right with me.
People concerned about a possible sleeper cell reprisal here.
Mm-hmm. President Trump has no greater responsibility than protecting the homeland. And look at what he has done over the past several months to do that. He has done more than any president in American history to secure our border and the largest mass deportation operation of illegal criminals, many of them known terrorists that Joe Biden led into this country, are being removed every day. I spoke to our Secretary of Homeland Security this morning. She held a call with governors across the country, and the Department of Homeland Security is actively engaged with our state and local law enforcement partners to protect the American people. That is the president's #1 priority, and all all of this. And that's ultimately what led him to make the decision to launch this strike on Saturday night, to protect our homeland from threats abroad. And we will continue to protect our homeland from threats here at home.
Karoline, but no specific threat yet in any city or any state or any building?
Not that I'm tracking, Brian, but I can assure you the Department.
Do you really think she would say it? I think that would be highly classified now. And honestly, public doesn't need to know about the threat as long as FBI and CIA is doing their job and trying to prevent that from happening, right?
Department of Homeland Security is monitoring this situation very closely.
Yeah.
So as this operation takes place, Democrats said they were not told about
my
it.
God.
They were left in the dark, and they said usually there's bipartisan calls for this, and they didn't know about it. Here is Republican Thomas Massie.
Leave it to Democrats to make it all about them. What's going to be next thing? Next thing is they're going to somehow include the transgender stuff in there and LGBTQ, and they're going to call Republicans racist, transphobe, and it always comes in three, right? Ridiculous. Come on, Dems. It has nothing to do with you. And yeah, looking at your behavior with ICE and everything, maybe better that you didn't know about it. You would probably ran somewhere to Iran and warn them, because God knows why.
We haven't been briefed. They should have called us all back. And frankly, we should have debated this war powers resolution that Ro Khanna and I offered, instead of staying on vacation and doing fundraisers and saying, oh, well, the president's got this under control. We're going to cede our constitutional authority.
Should you have called everybody back?
First of all, we did make bipartisan calls. Thomas Massie and the Democrats, he should be a Democrat because he's more aligned with them than with the Republican Party. We're given notice. The White House made calls to congressional leadership. They were bipartisan calls. In fact, Hakeem Jeffries couldn't be reached. We tried him before the strike, and he didn't pick up the phone, but he was briefed after, as well as Chuck Schumer was briefed prior to the strikes.
Okay, wait. Was he supposed to be on call? Is he paid? Like, was it during his work hours? Is he paid for that time? Was he supposed to pick up the call? Because if he was, fire him. Come on, he's not doing his job. Maybe he complains about it. Where's Elon? You guys need to bring Elon back, by the way.
So this notion that CNN ran with at the White House did not give a heads up to Democrats is just completely false. In fact, both Senator Schumer's office and CNN had to retract that story last night because it was a blatant lie. And we showed them the timestamps from those phone calls. But I want to add something to Thomas Massie's false point. The White House was not obligated to call anyone because the president was acting within his legal authority under Article 2 of the Constitution as Commander-in-Chief of the President of the United States. We gave these calls as a courtesy, and the Democrats are lying about this because they can't talk about the truth of the success of that operation and the success of our United States military and the success of this president and this administration in doing something that past administrations, Democrats too, have only dreamed about.
Yeah, but President Obama did not ask for permission to bomb Libya in 2011.
That's right.
Finally, I know you guys are going over to NATO. You're going to go one day later. It's going to be on Tuesday. So far, our NATO allies are looking for de-escalation. What do you want to hear from them about what we did over the weekend?
That's right. The president will be taking off for NATO tomorrow morning, and one of the main topics of discussion will be that 5% threshold that our NATO allies have to hit. The president has been calling on our NATO allies to do more for quite some time. He got them to step up and do more in his first term, and you'll hear the president talk about that on this next historic trip to Europe. You
want them spending 5%, right? 5% of their GDP on defense. Yes. Some of them just got to 2%. Have you gotten any pushback on that?
Not so far, not that we've heard, and the president has been adamant. And our NATO allies, to their credit, heeded the president's strong call in his first term, and we expect them to do it this time around as well. I know it's one of those very tense times that you're always going to remember. And thanks so much for letting us know what's happening from inside the White House. Karoline LEAVITT, thank you. Thanks, Brian. All right, and now they're going to head overseas, over to...
Okay, so do you remember how CNN and other news outlets try to disrespect Karoline LEAVITT, that she's there only for looks. Come on. She's cooking. Every time she's on the TV, I saw just the clips. I never saw the full interview, but she's cooking. She reminds me, you know that movie, Legally Blonde? She is so capable in this position. She handles all freaking interviews and she doesn't take shit. I don't know. That's definitely not for the looks. You can think that, especially with how people have a bad opinion about President Trump. But you see, that's not why she's in this position. And it's crazy that CNN and other news outlets try to suggest that she's incapable of being in this position, and the only reason why she got that is her looks. Ridiculous. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about the 5% of GDP for all of the members of NATO. Is it fair? I think so. It's 5% of your GDP. It's not like, oh, let's say you need to give 5 billions. No, if your GDP sucks, you're gonna give less, right? If your GDP is better, you're gonna give more. But what do you get in return? Well, protection. And I think that's worth it, unless you have a huge army like US. Does US needs NATO? Yeah, it's definitely beneficial somehow for them as well. It's always good to have allies, always good to protect mainland before the threat even gets to you, right? But at the same time, like, other countries don't have an army like US. And let's be honest, members of NATO, they always depend on US. So yes, they should go with 5%. And another thing, it's not a new thing. I think it's been in the contract for well over 10 years that they're gonna participate by 5%. But the members of NATO did not follow that. So by President Trump requesting it, I think that's okay. Again, you can complain however you want, but in the end, it all comes to people before President Trump, that they allowed it, that they didn't push. It comes back to your own country, that they did not follow the contract, right? So yes, like I said in case of the tariffs and Canada, President Trump is just tip of the iceberg. If your economy sucks, if the situation in your country sucks, it's not President Trump's fault.